Hey, great, you found us. Thanks for tuning in. This is Not Good at Normal. According to Webster's dictionary, well, there is no ghost sign in the dictionary, but if you Google it, it will take you to Wikipedia, which states, ghost signs are old hand-painted advertising signs that have been preserved on a building for an extended period of time. Old and fading signs or ads on exterior walls. That is a ghost sign. And as you can see with all the cool pictures, these are, again, mostly all around St. Louis. There are one or two outside of, I think there's one in Kansas City, and then one of these I believe I took in my time at Nashville. My favorite kind of ghost sign are the ones that you can see them, but you really maybe can't make out what the entire word says or what the advertisement is for. Like this one. It's got multiple layers, which means it's extremely old. This one happens to be in the Lemp Historic Cherokee area of St. Louis, and it's just amazing how many layers of signs there are on this thing. The very top says chew, but I can't make out what type of chew. Obviously some kind of chewing tobacco. The biggest part says Buetner's, or Buetner's. Sounds very southern when I say it, but it was a fine furnishing department store in the turn of the century, 1902, somewhere in there. And that is no longer there. But the sign is still up because years and years ago, painters were called wall dogs. They would mix their own paints and make their own colors, often either off of a small design. Maybe they would make their own design. A lot of times they had just a small logo to go off of. And the paint they used was called white lead paint. Yes, lead paint. The lead paint allowed it to last forever, sometimes 2 or 3 lifetimes. Someone comes in, buys a building, they want to put their own stamp on it, they want their own name on the building, so they paint over these. And sometimes they paint over and over again, and the old advertising just keeps coming through. Can't get rid of it. That's why it's called a ghost sign. So Buetner's was on... I just laugh. I think I'm saying that wrong. I mean, just the spelling alone, you can't go off of even phonetically. But that particular business, the fine furnishing, was on 7th and Washington Avenue in downtown St. Louis. Was an old garment district, which funny in the 1980s when most places in the 70s and 80s were not about preserving and protecting historic, cool, what we now think is an awesome architecture or something that is worthy. Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it was, oh, let's tear it down, it's old, or cover the facade and make it look modern and new, and no, none of that. So it's fun to see the old ghost signs. There's another one on Washington Avenue, but the actual furniture company was several blocks down the road. In addition to advertising for Buetner's, this one also says, if I can read it, I'm trying to read it, and my little studio here is in the dark. It says, King Bee Hats by King Brinsmaid Merch Company. Then next to it, it says Wrigley's Spearmint Pepsin Gum. The flavor lasts. Under the Buetner's Home Furnishing 7th and Washington part, it says Aero Stamps. And then at the very top, there's part of it that I can't make out. It says buy something by the box. Perhaps it says buy it by the box, but what is it? What is the advertisement for? I can't figure it out. One of my favorites, and this one you can barely make out. This one says, ask for anti-carmina tablets. I'm probably saying that wrong because they're not around anymore, but it says ask for AK tablets. And it looks like there might have been a newer sign covering it, sort of, but it's very, very hard. It's very faint. Okay, so the AK tablets were made in St. Louis, and they were from the Anti-Carmina Chemical Company. And they were in production from 1890 to about 1930. They produced, and I say this lightly, they produced cures for the pains of the body using at various times heroin. Okay, sure, why not? And you can't really talk about St. Louis history without talking about beer. We were once the beer capital of the world, with good reason. We had a huge German population, and there were several breweries made downtown St. Louis next to not only the Mississippi River, but in that general area around Lemp and Carondelet, Hyde Park. There were many, many caves, like a system of caves. And the caves were great for storing the beer, especially in the summertime when it gets steamy, hot, and humid. Most of those caves are no longer. Some of them have been closed up. Irks me every time I drive through. And it's not an overpass. It's getting onto Highway 55, right there by the Chantal DeMille Mansion and the Lemp Mansion and the whole entire Lemp complex, because that right there was a humongous cave, and they used to allow you to go in and tour the caves, and it was part of that was connected to the Lemp Brewery. And they tore it down in, I think it was early 60s or late 50s, in order to build part of the highway. Yeah, just, hey, we don't need this anymore. It's not historic. Well, why not? Just blast it and we'll make a highway through it. So as a beer capital, there was a lovely place called Hyde Park. And in Hyde Park, they had Hyde Park beer. And all the signs advertise Hyde Park bottled beer. I've found 4 of them, I believe, in the general vicinity. I've got pictures of 2 of them. One is next to this lovely mural that was never finished. And if you know anything about me or follow me at all on any of the socials, I take pictures of my Mini in front of murals. And so this one, it was like the coolest thing ever. It's a double. It's a mural and a ghost sign right there. But this one, you can clearly see that it said Hyde Park bottled beers. We've also got some beer advertising around town for the Lemp Brewery. The Lemp family owned an enormous complex. The Lemp factory was downtown-ish. I guess now it would be like outskirts of downtown, close to Anheuser-Busch actually. And the humongous complex for the most part is still there. The buildings at various times have been rented out. Some of them are used for storage. I think there's some kind of bike shop or something, or I don't know. There's all kinds of storage things when you go by. Kind of looks like some of it is abandoned, but everybody keeps saying it's not. I don't know. It's just the coolest thing ever. So as you can see on this picture, it says ISCO on the smokestack. That is because at one point, the white glazed brick said Lemp, L-E-M-P. But when the International Shoe Company bought the Lemp factory, when the Lemp family, they kind of lost interest, and with Prohibition, they sold the factory to the International Shoe Company, who at one time was the biggest shoe supplier in the world. Because at one time, St. Louis not only was the beer capital, it was the shoe capital. But not to digress. That's the only picture I have of the International Shoe Company. The smokestack is still there, but on the buildings, there are still signs that say Lemp Brewery. You have to kind of look. But, I mean, that's a fascinating place to go look around. And there are videos of people doing their urban exploring, which I'm not real fond of. I've never actually been inside of an abandoned place or a place that people think is abandoned because I just, out of respect, there might be somebody who owns it. Maybe it's someone's relative that died and they own the property but have never had the chance or the money to go through it or to sell it or for whatever reason. You never know. So I just think it's kind of not respectful. So the rest of these are just some murals that I've come across in my travels. Really awesome artists in and around the St. Louis area. A couple of them from around Kansas City and some in Nashville. But for the most part, these are all in St. Louis. And some of the cool buildings I've came across, some of the old abandoned buildings with the cool architecture that I just love so much. St. Augustine's Church up in North County, that one's also listed on here as well. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Hi, do us a favor and like the video, subscribe if you want more content with Mother Teresa or about old world Hollywood history in general and the not normal, because here at Not Good at Normal, that's just what you'll get. Not normal. Unusual, unique, and we strive to make your day just a little bit brighter.